just to kick off, I'm going to pull up the chat room feature from our platform. And real quick, if you could all head to that section as well. I just want to do a quick add a response in here, and then we'll discuss it for a minute or two. What was the experience like working on this on your own over the last 4 or 5 days? And if you need the direct link to this, I threw it in our group chat. Right. All right. So let's just talk a little bit more, Scott, on your end. Just kind of elaborate that on a little bit.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you definitely helping out with the underwriting use case, but I wanted to kind of get some practice in myself and actually because that's kind of the first industry I'm attacking, but I'm also like kind of simultaneously working with a couple of health systems on the healthcare side. So just being able to kind of like step through and understand the process myself, just so I kind of get the full benefit of everything. But yeah, it was definitely being able to walk through the guide was super helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And Thuresh, thinking through the customer standpoint instead of what you think. Can you say a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just more about we're so engrossed in our pitch and how we think what problems to be solved from that perspective, right? I think that has been overall a challenge. I mean, you understand problem statements at a very high level, but connecting that to emotional angle of day-to-day life from a customer standpoint, I think that's very interesting in terms of how do we think from an emotional angle and what because some of these users are not reliant on, I mean, they like the KPIs and all, but KPIs are at a much higher level, right, from a C level.
Right.
But when you're talking to these users on a day to day, how does it improve their lifestyle? How does it improve their day to day workflows and processes? I think that's important from solving the customer. I mean, both are important. KPI and ROI is important, but also making an emotional connection to the customer around the problem statement is what I think this helped me just take a step back and realize that.
Yeah. And this is what I think the majority of entrepreneurs don't think through is they stay in that high level like mindset. High level meaning like more like vague description or understanding of the problem. And this is where you see a lot of pitches as a crutch almost lean on using words and phrases like such and such is broken or this industry is fragmented. Um, but that doesn't actually mean anything at a practical level. Like that might be our assessment of it, great, but no individual in that target market is necessarily thinking through this industry wide lens of how the entire system is broken or fragmented. And when you kind of translate that to investor speak, even, it's so much harder for them to be able to grasp a problem because none of us can actually picture what the underwriting system being fragmented actually means. Like we can't picture that problem. We can't picture a supply chain specific within supply chain software. We can't picture like their operations being disparate or things like that. So the more specific we can get with our language, the more relevant we are to our actual target market. But then by proxy, the more an investor is able to connect with it very quickly and see like, oh, there's actually something here.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is there is a thin line between going too deep as well. Sometimes we run
Mm-hmm.
into that scenario where once you go too deep, then investors, it just like goes over their head from that perspective. I mean, they understand it, but sometimes we have run into that scenario as well, like going too deep and making the problem statement very uh, what I would say is detailed from that perspective also can hurt you at times. But again, it all
Yeah.
depends on how can you simplify it, right? From um, again, giving the details, but at the same time, just simplifying the message so that they can easily understand and grasp as well. I think that's where.
Yeah, and I'll give you another example. I don't know if this is one of the examples that was in the PDF, but a really good example is a company called Navflex. I don't know if you met them at the conference, Thurish. They were their exhibit booth was like in the hallway leading into the theater.
Got it.
But when we worked on their pitch, they're operating in autonomous robots for supply chain warehouses.
Yeah, I saw that next
Right,
to
which can get complex very quickly. But and Chuck, the founder, has now he really has that pitch down now. But if you take something that can be quite complex and you bring it to like the practicality of it and the using words that carry actual emotion behind them, you get something that pretty much everyone can understand. And that pitch, off the top of my head, I might butcher it a little bit, but it's logistics lives and dies by the motto, time is money. That's why everything in the warehouse is automated, except at the loading dock, where it's still humans doing the work. And a 5-minute delay in the loading can lead to a 5-hour delay in the shipment and create a $5 million loss at just one site. And then there's some more about like people calling in sick, taking vacation days, or just making errors, and all of that. Then you have your culminating statement, and then you say Navflex makes every dock more palatable, literally. So there's a little pun there, and it's we retrofit or our autonomous what is it? We turn forklifts into autonomous robots that make the factory floor move at the speed of money. They pick up the thing, they put it right in the container, so the cargo can actually get in the car and go. So again, I butchered that a little bit, but that's the basic that's the basic pitch, and everyone connects with that. And they can picture it happening as they're hearing it too.
Yeah.
And that's the key, right? Like the more you can get people to picture what's happening, the more you will be understood by them, and the more they will be interested. And that's why, coming back to the top of what I was saying, if we lean on those crutches, words like fragmented, words like broken, we can't picture what that actually means. And that's why I say, like, the value of one individual person is so much more impactful than trying to cram how do you speak about this through the lens of 50 million people experiencing it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So today is our over-the-shoulder pitch writing session. So what this is going to kind of be, as I described last week, this will kind of be like a round robin. If it's just us two or us three in it, then it'll go, we'll have more back and forth, or it'll go quicker. So we'll see if Mary joins in. Neb, can you actually ping Mary, send her an email and see if she is joining today? You are on mute if you were confirming that. Or wait, maybe in the chat you said yes. Yes, you did. Okay, great. Thank you. So what we'll do is we'll pull up the workbook and then start to talk through, what's going on with it. I'll start with Thuresh's, which because we haven't really looked at yours yet.
Yep.
So we're looking at equipment manufacturers as the target audience here.
Yeah, we do have a couple of verticals, but I started with one. That's what you mentioned. Yeah.
You know what? I think you actually shared with me a different, unless, let me see here. Yeah, this one's empty. So I think you shared with me a different document that I have not added. Can you link that directly in the chat? Okay. Okay, so supply chain operations or sales planning, VP of Ops, demand planner, dealer network manager, most are between 35 and 60, part of mid to large size equipment manufacturers with a strong dealer network across North America, sometimes globally. They care about performance, both in hitting sales goals and keeping operations running smoothly. They like tools that give them clarity, help them make faster decisions, and plug into what they're already using. They're analytical, focused on results, and open to new tech, especially if it drives efficiency and doesn't require ripping out their ERP. Okay. Lead problem. We don't have clear forward-looking visibility into what products our dealers will need, where, and when, making it nearly impossible to align our assembly schedules, part ordering, and supply chain planning with actual market demand. Okay. Just so I'm aware, when we say dealer, who would be like an example of a dealer?
So just for example, Yamaha is or Yanmar is a tractor manufacturer. So they have 300 dealers throughout the country. So tractor dealers, right? So for example,
Okay.
so equipment manufacturers. So Yamaha is another one. Then you have uh, Ariens, TYM, tractors. So all these are tractor manufacturers with huge dealer networks who are selling these tractors across the country.
Perfect. Okay, great. We constantly react to dealer orders instead of planning ahead. It's hard to know if the right mix of products is actually sitting in the right locations. So I just want to point out, I really like that you wrote this through the context of how they would say these things. So great job on that. Our production plans don't always align with real market demand. We carry aged or unproductive inventory that ties up working capital. Regional sales managers have no consistent way to guide or educate dealers. We can't easily measure our market share or identify growth opportunities. We often miss out on sales because we're out of stock or have long lead times. Tariff changes, seasonal shifts, and supply chain delays make planning even harder. Okay. And that culminates in no clear forward-looking visibility into what products our dealers will need. So we are lacking the visibility is basic summary of that. Okay. Tried to rely on dealer order history, but it doesn't reflect future demand or market shifts. Tried to build manual forecasts in Excel, but it's too static and quickly outdated. This probably seems like similar to Scott's case. Like if it's done manually, it requires someone to go in and then update it. Which anytime that's the case, Excel is
Yeah.
You can easily have 2 weeks of missing data. Ask RSMs to manually gather. That's regional sales managers.
Yes.
Okay. To manually gather dealer intel, time consuming, inconsistent, and rarely actionable. Causing this feeling frustrating. We're always reacting, got pressure. Okay. During the monthly SNOP meeting, SNOP, sales and operations. Yeah. When leadership asks, why are we still out of stock on top SKUs? When reviewing aged inventory reports and seeing the same slow-moving products month after month. On Monday morning, when emails flood in about urgent dealer needs and scramble planning. Okay. Our dealers are happy, sales are up, and we're not buried. We've got time to focus on strategy, not just firefighting. All right, so now the actual product is an AI-powered availability optimization platform designed specifically for equipment manufacturers with dealer networks. It gives your team forward-looking visibility. So one thing I want to say is, honestly, just from reading the audience funnel, I was already starting to like make a pretty highly educated guess on what the product was. So that's a sign that you filled that out really well, because I should be able to make a pretty good hypothesis of what your product is, just based off of understanding your audience. Forward-looking visibility, where and when, instead of relying on static forecasts. Demand at the SKU and regional level. Okay. Helps you stay ahead of demand by showing you what your dealers will need by product, region, and time. Feeds that demand upstream. Accounts for substitution, equips your teams. Okay. Improves visibility, aligns production and procurement, reduces excess inventory, minimizes lost sales, boosts dealer performance. Okay. Why should they care? They're tired of flying blind, guessing what to build. All right. So now let's see what we came up with. We'll go over here. Sales team is scrambling. Dealers are out of stock on some key SKUs. Production is building on gut feeling. Manufacturers, why? Because manufacturers can't see what their dealers will need, where, or when. Current tools, ERP reports, static forecasts, and past orders don't show what's coming. The result? Lost sales, bloated inventory, and a supply chain stuck in reaction mode. How do you plan ahead when your tools are built to look backward? Whole logic flips the supply chain model from reactive to predictive. Instead of optimizing around past orders, we optimize around future dealer demand, what they'll need, where, and when. Whole logic is a platform that connects dealer demand to production, procurement, and inventory decisions, so manufacturers can build the right products, order the right parts, and reduce inventory waste. It works with your existing ERP and gives your team forward-looking visibility, no disruption, just higher fill rates, lower carrying costs, and faster, more confident decisions. We've had a successful pilot with Home Depot and a 15% revenue lift, 20% faster fulfillment. We're currently in talks with HD Supply and Walmart for pilots. We have 556K ARR. Okay, great. All right. So before I give any insight, you want to just give me a quick 20, 30-second sort of overview on your thought process in building this?
I think thought process, and I kind of did this at when we presented at Startup Grind as well. But there, I think one of the things you pointed out was starting with a very high level problem statement is $2 trillion in inventory waste or distortion, right? That's just too high of a vantage point and what you're trying to explain from conceptual standpoint. So the thought process here, what I wanted to do is just hone in on exactly what problem we're solving for equipment manufacturer, right? I mean, again, understanding who the target audience is, what is the current problem, why, and of course, it's a crowded market, why the current tools are not working, and how are we solving it? What is our approach and how are we solving it and what traction do we have? That was the thought process and to how to craft this.
Okay, great. So let's start with the problem statement. So some quick feedback here. I like the direction this is headed in. You are asking too many questions though. You have why, you have the result question mark, and then you close with another question. How do you plan ahead when your tools are built to look backward?
Yeah.
I would probably trim that down to just one single question. Now the why question, you probably don't need that. You could just say production is building on gut feel. And you could be like, it's impossible to see, let me think here. The sales team is scrambling. Dealers are out of stock on some key SKUs. Production is building on gut feeling. Why? Because manufacturers can't see what their dealers will need, where, when. Okay, so let me come to the top here. Give me a situation before you hit that issue. So kind of like objective, contextual situation. Sales team is scrambling is pain. So can you introduce first with something that brings us into the picture to then be able to say the sales team is scrambling? So that could be, for example, maybe you say something like, there's a new order that needs to be fulfilled. I don't know if that's the right terminology in this case, but
again, maybe the second part, which is you get a call on Monday, dealers are out of stock on some key SKUs, right? And that's when sales team is scrambling. Maybe that's what we do from that perspective.
Yeah, you could do that. The you get a call can be enough to give us the situation, and then the second half of that sentence can start to get into, what's needed. Then it's like now the sales team is scrambling,
Yep.
and production starts building on gut feel.
Which I think needs to change as well. Production is not building. I mean, at this point, you get a call Monday morning from this guy. Production is trying to figure out.
And maybe it's like production's trying to figure out how much to build at what speed and something else, like how much to build, when, and where to send it to.
Is trying to make quick modification. Maybe just this assembly. Get a call Monday morning from a discount dealer as they are out of stock for some key SKUs. The sales team is scrambling. Production is trying to make quick modifications to the assembly plan and order schedules. Something like this.
Yeah, and then your next sentence would be like, we need to get into now like the source of this challenge. So that, I mean, that could be your why right there. Yeah. Why? Because we can't see what our dealers need, where, or when. And then you hit your current tools. Current tools don't show what's coming. And I'd probably go to like, if I look back at your, I'm going to scroll back up to the ways they've tried. So maybe you probably would hit more on like these. You'd say, looking at past order history doesn't reflect changes in the market. Excel forecasts are outdated, or someone didn't update the most recent Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Which makes it unreliable. And sales managers are so busy selling, they have no time to give you any of their live data. Or sales manager, yeah, sellers are so busy selling, they say, I'll get it to you tomorrow, only for only for a week to go by and they still haven't sent it. Something like that. I'm trying to think like how like a salesperson would act if they're under pressure. Or maybe to shorten that, you say, and the sales team is so busy selling, their answer is always, I'll get it to you tomorrow. Even when tomorrow hits. and they say it again tomorrow. Yeah.
Doesn't reflect future demand. And dealer order history which do not reflect on then what was the last part? Second part.
We said dealer order history doesn't look at future demand or market shifts. Spreadsheets never get updated. in time. And the sales team is so busy selling any info the sales team is so busy selling, they say, I'll get it to you tomorrow. And then you could add into that, and then they say it again the next day. So now the rest of this, you probably don't need all these other things, and you can hit your closing statement. Maybe you keep the bloated inventory, that whole sentence. But I want you to, as you go through this, I want you to be mindful of how much time it's taking to get through all of this.
But does this why make sense here? Why? Because manufacturer can't see what their dealers would need when or where.
Yeah. And Scott, I'll have you chime in. Like, does that seem like it makes sense to you?
Sorry, I was multitasking a little bit. Can
Yeah,
you
no problem.
ask the question again, please?
Yeah, so his question is this, if you look at the first part up here, does this part now make sense?
Got it. Okay.
So I guess the question, Scott, is does that response to the issue presented up front make enough sense in your head?
Yeah, it's not quite clicking intuitively. I'm just trying to think of how it will kind of plug A into B.
I think the second and third can probably be combined, to be honest.
Yeah.
By
So I think then you probably have to go with one of these two, but not both.
Yeah. I think
And
that's
that, and maybe you say, maybe you do more of like maybe you say instead of the result, lost sales, bloated inventory, and supply chain stuck in reaction mode, you say something more like, how do you keep customers happy and hit your sales numbers when you're, when you're working with a reactive system?
uh,
I almost wonder if the bullet points, the dealer order history, and the manual forecasts should go after why, and then because manufacturers can't see what their dealers will need. Because I think that was where I was having trouble understanding. It's like, okay, production is trying to make quick modifications to the assembly plan and order schedules. So I almost wonder if I need a little more background as like someone hearing this for the first time to say, okay, like what are the reasons? Because you're kind of getting to the punchline first, it almost seems like.
Mm.
uh,
So I think what you do is you say something like, it's Monday morning and a disgruntled dealer calls saying they're out of stock on key SKUs. Now the sales team is scrambling and production. No, now the sales team and production are scrambling because they don't know how to, or you could say because they had no idea this was even an issue.
idea that
This was even an issue. And
uh,
then so now those next two sentences get cut. And then you say why. They're using dealer order history, which doesn't reflect future demand or sudden market shifts. And the manual forecasts on spreadsheet, or the manual spreadsheet forecasts never get updated in time.
their order.
You could probably kill the by the sales team. Never get updated in time.
Monday morning.
And then you probably don't need to say you can't see the need where or when, because we've explained that in the previous sentences. And now you hit your, maybe that is the closing line, or maybe you find a different way to say it, but you say the result, lost sales, bloated inventory, and like that works fine to me. But if you wanted to come up with a different way of saying that, you could. I want to hit Scott's next, but just two other quick things I'll say is your approach has got to be one line. So that whole, instead of optimizing around past orders, that's probably going to be your solution, part of your solution. And that seems to me to be a good first sentence of your solution. Think about with the approach how you can make it a little bit like zippier of a statement, potentially using wordplay. And think or phrase it more in like a where like the verb is the first word, not the company name. So like, make this thing happen with pull logic.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, great. We'll come back around to you. Let's go to Scott now. I saw you shared a second workbook with me, but I'll put, sorry, I didn't really say shared. Let's look at the underwriting one first, because you said you just made some updates to that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so the part where it says updated in blue, so underneath that is kind of the new version.
Okay. Every application hinges on the approval, and in life insurance, a slow yes often feels like a no. So you're just saying every application, like in life.
Yep.
Okay. Every application, make that, this is very small, make that an approval instead of the approval.
Okay.
Just so we know we didn't miss something. If you say the, it makes it feel like we missed something before that.
Just trying to find the right tab. All right, there we go.
Every application hinges on an approval, and in life insurance, a slow yes often feels like a no. But as underwriters, we're on our own, deciphering doctor's notes and sifting through 1,000-page medical record PDFs that still miss key details. Rules go stale, off-the-shelf platforms are copy-paste, and the smart AI sometimes invents diagnoses. Goodbye, competitive edge. One overlooked note, one $5 million claim, suddenly your quarters in cardio. I like that. I like that. Now we get to the heart of the data. Good. One overlooked note, one $5 million claim, and suddenly your quarters in cardiac arrest. Get to the heart of the data with Gasund. Keep premiums pumping. Issue offers while the applicant's coffee is still warm. All right. Gasund's multi-expert engine pulls real-time medical data, maps it to every relevant condition, and highlights only what moves the decision. You get an instant offer-ready decision package, no chart surgery required. I like this. Gasund gives you every fact to issue fast and keeps your pulse steady with AI that never skips a beat. Carriers set a $15.9 billion premium record. Like, was that like last year?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
think I put that part.
Carriers set a $15.9 billion premium record last year, yet billions more still evaporated. Families waited for approval while underwriters dug through mountains of PDFs. We're gearing up our seed round to get underwriters straight to the heart of every cause. Help us put underwriting into a healthy rhythm. See how. All right, you've got the puns down, so
Yeah.
this is good.
Is it too
We
many
might need to pull back on like one of them just so it doesn't, cross the line into like hokey.
Yeah.
Like the I almost want to say, like, if this is your approach, it's almost like this should be the closing line of the solution. So it's like, so you can keep premiums pumping and issue offers while the applicant's coffee is still warm.
So we're kind of replace the value summary.
See here. Yeah, exactly. You would make that the value summary, and then this just kicks off your solution section. So you're kind of, opening with product explanation essentially. Or leading with product, and then in the same sentence, it goes into product explanation.
Yeah, so I would still add something here.
Well, no, I'm sorry. What I'm saying is Gasund's multi-expert engine pulls real-time medical data. Like that sentence is your leading with product, but it also in the same sentence is now becoming part of product explanation.
So that technically go here. Like that.
Decision. Yeah. I do think you're going to need to say a little bit more about the product here.
Okay.
Let me just come back to what the original one was. So like this part, if you scroll, look at my view, this to me, like really allows someone to picture it. And I think in the rewrite, it got like so cute that it missed like so what, like, can I point to what it is kind of matter of it?
Okay.
And, you know, up to you if you want to say like our back end versus just like our product or we, you know, that's
Yeah.
right. Um, so then if we come back here, I just want to make sure we're setting this up the right way to carry through what you've gotten the rest of it. So I think where I'm struggling in this intro here is I want it to be able to set up why it's a slow yes. And also the fact that there's plenty of no's too, right? That maybe
Right.
shouldn't be a
Yep.
no. So I think and that might be solved with, instead of but, we say because as underwriters. And then this, maybe you say, and in life insurance, no means no. And a slow yes also means no. Yeah. And I think the no means no goes first, and then you say, and a slow yes.
Oh, okay.
Is maybe instead of feels like a no, you say like can be just as bad as a no. But I do want to point out, as we're making these live updates, is we want to make sure that we're setting up that like they aren't trying to accept everyone, right? They want to make sure they're making the right decisions. So in this format right now, I want to be mindful that we're not accidentally creating a situation that leads people to think, how do I just get to yes faster? Because that's not true, right? It's how do I make the right decision faster? So consider that as we think about that situation up front. And then, have you timed this, by the way?
Yeah, it was about a minute.
About meaning a couple seconds over or a couple seconds under?
A couple seconds over. And I'm sure once I'll work on consolidating this and try to run it again.
Okay. Assumes multi-expert engine pulls real-time medical data, maps it to every relevant condition, and highlights only what moves the decision. Yeah. So I think this will be combined in some way, right?
Yeah.
And then you say, you get an instant offer ready decision package. and keep and I would probably, because we've got the other puns and stuff, your chart surgery one is probably going to be the one that gets cut, just so it's not too many puns.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have the coffee one, the premiums pumping, and the coffee one if you keep that closing line.
Right.
You get an instant offer ready decision package and keep premiums pumping, all while the applicant's coffee is still warm. So that's my initial feedback. But again, keep in mind, like, we want to make sure we're not accidentally conveying that this is like a yes engine. This
Yeah.
is what
So
this is
maybe
a smart decision engine.
get to the heart of the right decision with Gazoond? Or is that still kind of too far from the
I think get to the heart of the data is fine. I think how you explain the solution is more so. I want to make sure, like, let me come back to what the original one was. Like, you see how in this other one it was, you get everything you need to decide policy, right? Or to make a decision, right? Would probably be an easier way to say that. Like, so something like that still shows them like they have the power to decide yes or no, but they've got the right. It's an informed decision at that point. It's not, we're not implying, I don't want the customer or the investor to mistakenly think this is a product that just, pumps out bad claims, because that's actually what you're fighting against.
Right, exactly.
Or bad policies, rather, not bad claims. So as you update the problem, like, because the solution is always going to be a response to the problem. So look at where you want to revise the problem first, and then go into more modifications of the solution, keeping in mind that we want to not end up in a situation, like, we want to make sure that the situation we have set up is that, and then the resulting problem combined, is that it's about, like, you need to make the right decision.
Yep. Yeah, I just did a quick update to the product explanation. So you get everything you need to make the right decision instantly and keep premiums pumping, issuing offers while the applicant's coffee is still warm.
Yeah. I might need to trim the length of that sentence just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then be mindful as you update this section as well. Just be mindful of overall time.
Yep.
I don't know if I said this the other day, but the general timestamp is you want to be done with the problem at about maximum 25 seconds, maybe 26. 22 is the sweet spot. And that assumes that you're going to have investor language in the action step. If you don't have any investor language in the action step, you get about 30 seconds of problem.
Okay.
Because if your action is simply just like book a demo, call us now, that kind of thing, that takes 1 second to say, 2 seconds maybe. So you get more time up front with the problem and the solution.
Okay.
But so 22 seconds is the sweet spot, maximum 25, 26 seconds. Approach should be one sentence, one phrase. So that takes about 1 second to say. And then solution is, let me work backwards here. If the action step includes the investor detail, you should be hitting the action step at the latest 48 seconds in. Now, if your whole pitch ends up being a minute and 2 seconds, no one's really flagging you for that.
Mhm.
Unless you're in an actual like 1 minute, competition, or
Right.
event, which does happen often enough, and then people get cut off early.
Mhm.
So I would just err on the side of like, get it to a minute in your, as you draft this versus being like, it's a minute 8, it's fine.
Right, right. Yeah, because I know I've got some potential pitch competitions I'm hoping to get into coming up.
Okay.
So yeah, I know I've seen some, and yeah, they when it hits like 90 seconds or 60 seconds or whatever the allotment is, it's like you're done.
Yeah. And honestly, a lot, some people are like, oh, that's unfair. But the reality, because I've had to proctor or like MC a lot of these things.
Hmm.
The reality is it starts cutting into someone else's time at that point, and then
Yep.
it's unfair to not that that person's going to get 56 seconds necessarily, but the event's got to run on a schedule. And then when one
Hmm.
person, if it is a 1 minute, if one person takes a minute 20, it doesn't mean the next person gets 40 seconds, but what it does mean is the audience is a little bit more exhausted by the time the next person pitches, or by the time person 10 pitches, right? They've heard more than they were supposed to.
Yep.
So that's why this stuff matters. Okay, let's go. I'm going to bounce back to Tharesh, and then with remaining time, Scott, we can either look at this again with whatever updates you're going to make in the background, or your other one. I'm going to err on
Okay.
this one though, because this was the one we kind of decided on, at least at the start of the program.
Yep.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Okay, Tharesh, let's come back to yours. Talk to me about what we've worked on over the last 10-ish minutes.
Yeah, so what I've done is again tried to simplify the problem a little bit in terms of making it easy and easy to speak as well. And then from approach standpoint, I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think trying to have a smooth transition between problem to the approach and then getting into solution and having
Okay.
tying those three up together is what I was trying to do.
Sure. Okay, so if we take the problem as is in the current state that you have it,
Yeah.
instead of approach being that's where pull logic comes in, this is where like your approach is going to be like that tagline that you want to use. So I'm going to come back to your superhero strategy and just I want to see conceptually what you wrote there. So for approach, okay, it looks like you didn't fill that part out. Or no, here we go. I'm sorry, it's here. Know what your dealers need before they do. Always have the right product before it's due. I mean, this could work, or some version of this.
Yeah.
Know what your dealers need before they do with pull logic.
Yeah, I think that might work with dealers. That might work.
Yep. And then just when you think about like cadence of this, you'd want to have like a little bit of like a break in the sec. Know what your dealers need before they do with pull logic.
Okay.
And since you said the company name here, you could just be like, our predictive planning platform connects dealer demand directly to production, procurement, and inventory decisions.
And so,
So that would just be our predictive planning platform. And then the sentence structure will adjust as a result. So our predictive planning platform connects dealer demand directly to production, procurement, and inventory decisions. It's probably instead of relying just on historical sales, right? Because I'm sure historical sales is factored into the equation, right? Forecast what dealers will need by SKU, region, and timing, so the team can build the right products, order the right parts, and reduce excess and aged inventory at dealers. works with your existing ERP, and gives your team forward-looking insights with no disruption. Faster, smarter decisions. Our predictive planning platform connects dealer demand directly to production, procurement, and inventory decisions. Instead of relying just on historical sales, could we say something like get live forecasts of what dealers will need by SKU, region, and timing instead of it forecasts?
Uh, so it works with it and gives you for.
So this will be up here. Instead of relying just on historical sales, get live forecasts of what dealers will need by SKU, region, and timing.
Yeah. Get live.
Yeah, of what dealers will need by SKU, region, and timing, so the team can build the right products, order the right parts, reduce excess and age inventory of dealers. You just want to have the word "and" right here.
Yep.
Works with your existing ERP.
I just don't like this. Maybe with no disruption. Change that. Works with your
So,
existing.
in my opinion,
Yep.
everything you've said here and here,
Yeah.
is implying forward-looking insights with no disruption.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe
So you probably don't need to say that, and you can probably have something that's more like like you're always one step ahead and keeping customers happy, something to that effect.
works with your
Or maybe like since we started with they call you, it's like you call them and say we're anticipating this, we've got you covered.
Right. How would you word that? It works with your existing ERP system. I do want to
I
mention.
wonder, could we? So how important is the integration into the existing ERP?
I mean, maybe in the first 1 minute pitch, maybe it's not that important, to be honest. Like it's important when you go drill deep into, because you're not replacing any ERPs, which is it's a big problem from that perspective. But it's maybe doesn't need to be a part of 1 minute. Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, if with this target audience, is that the first thing they go to is like they're trying to replace my ERP, or is it more like a later on question? Hey, does this work with our ERP?
Later on, how does it work? Yeah, it's a later
Okay,
on.
so maybe we don't need to say that up front.
Yeah.
And then we take this and we say, instead of getting that Monday morning call, you're actually the one giving the call to your customer to say, hey, we're anticipating this. I don't know, what is it, an issue?
It will change. We'll
Yeah.
call the customer, informing them about upcoming something like that is what you're saying, thinking.
Yeah, but I want to like make it a little bit more like real and like
Yeah.
and like what they'd say in a call. So like instead of getting that Monday morning call, your sales team gives the call to the customer saying, hey, we anticipate this demand change and we're already responding appropriately or something like that. And we're already adjusting production. Yeah.
Getting that Monday morning call. Your sales team gives the call. Gives testing our assembly plan to
You could probably, I mean,
But
full stop could be right there, right? We anticipate this demand. We're already adjusting our plan.
yeah.
Instead of getting that Monday morning call, your sales team gives the call to the customer saying, we anticipate. Can we just say demand? We just say at your dealership?
Yeah.
We do or don't need it?
We don't need it. Just say,
Okay.
yeah.
And then this we're going to cut, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So now as we hit your action step, you can use, I mean, I like these numbers. I would probably say major manufacturers like Bad Boy Tractors and Toro get their logic from pull logic.
I mean, live that these are in pipeline. So live.
I see. Okay. So so you already have had successful pilots with Home Depot? Okay.
I mean, we are currently live with, again, the problem is these are multiple different, like this is equipment manufacturers and lighting and construction as well. So Yanmar is the equipment manufacturer here. So
Okay. So why don't we say like pilot with Home Depot led to a 15% lift, 20% faster fulfillment. We're in talks with Oro, Bad Boy Tractor, which I don't know that industry so well to know like which of these would be the next best name to say.
I think
We only
TYM tractors. Let's just focus on so we'll do TYM tractors, Arians. Yeah, we can just say, yeah, that's fine.
or we'll say Toro, TYM, and others. Others to expand on our 560K ARR. Or sorry, that's not the right phrase. Our pilot with Home Depot led to a 15% revenue lift and 20% faster fulfillment. Now we're in talks with Toro, TYM Tractors, and others. We're raising capital to expand on our 500. Can we round that up to 560? Is that horribly inaccurate if we do that? So you
So
have some
do you
phrase.
think
Yeah.
there's need to give the logos which are contributing to the 560K ARR?
And these are, well, we did say Home Depot, but you're saying these other ones are also part of that 560K?
Home Depot is just a pilot, right? All these other three are contributing to the 560K ARR. Yanmar, Maxlight, and MyTech.
Okay, so
Depot is just a brand name. That's why I wanted to have that in there. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's why I went with that versus the other ones. Because, well, let me ask you this. Are these the three customers or there's more besides them?
Right now, these three enterprise logos is what we have, which is contributing to 560K ARR.
Okay, okay.
Then others are in the pipeline.
Full enterprise customers and ran a pilot with Home Depot that led to a 15% revenue lift. Now we're in talks with.
Uh, yeah.
Then your call to action would be the final call to action would be obviously at pollogic.com, but you could try and come up with some pun to be like da 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 at pollogic.com.
Okay, I'll update that.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing we usually do in our one-on-ones, if we're doing our full pitch kit project, which we may end up talking about later on after the program, is we would encourage you to create a page that is .com/invest, and then actually throw a founder manifesto on that page, which is we put that in our process when we work with companies. And then you're sending the investor directly to that page about your founder manifesto.
Makes sense.
Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Just make sure it is in that under a minute time frame, though. You might need to still make some trim some areas.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, let me come back to Scott.
I made some more tweaks.
Down here or
Yep.
underneath.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So went back to kind of the original statement of fact.
Okay.
I was probably about a minute 10 when I was running through it. So it's like, okay, where can I shorten up? And I just got to tweak this one to be fast, accurate policy decisions.
Yep.
But it
Life
just,
insurance clients and brokers expect fast, accurate policy decisions. So you probably need to have the but come back in here. But as underwriters, we're on our own, deciphering doctor's notes and sifting through 1,000-page medical records that still miss key details. Rules engines go stale, and the smart AI sometimes invents diagnoses. Goodbye, competitive edge. One overlooked note, one $5 million claim, suddenly your quarters in cardiac arrest. Get to the heart of the data with Gossoon. Gossoon's multi-expert engine compiles every data point. Whether clean or messy, we identify gaps and duplicates and scrape the data against all types of health conditions to produce a transparent recommendation, clearly highlighting what drives the decision. You get everything you need to make the right decision instantly and keep premiums pumping issuing offers while the applicant's coffee is still warm. We have decision here and decision here. I was a little bit unclear on what does this part mean. So if I've read this, what do we mean when we say clearly highlighting what drives the decision?
Yeah, so it does kind of duplicate like the health conditions because it's the health conditions that determine if someone's going to get a policy or not and the price they pay for it. So yeah, because as you were reading through that section too, it's like okay, that the second sentence just goes on and on. Because there's not kind of a good natural break. So
Sure.
yeah. Um
What if so coming back to here, what if instead of the fast, accurate decisions, we say life insurance policies are determined based on a client's health conditions? That's
yeah.
our statement of fact up front. But as underwriters, we're on our own trying to figure out the true nature of their health, deciphering doctor's notes and sifting through 1,000-page medical records that still miss key details. Sorry, I'll let you type before I keep going.
Life insurance policies are determined by the applicant's health status.
Life insurance policies are determined by an applicant's, or we could just say health, right?
Yeah.
But as underwriters, we're on our own. We're on our own figuring out, we're on our own.
We just
Well,
get rid of this part.
No, I do like that because you can kind of picture what like handwriting. I know it's not technically doctor's handwriting because it's their charts that they're writing in, but like typing in, but it still helps create that sort of imagery. But as underwriters, maybe we don't say that we're on our own. Instead, we say, but as underwriters, we're, or not even we're, but as underwriters, getting a true understanding of their health underwriters getting a true understanding of their health. Could we say getting a true understanding of their health goes beyond the application? It means period. It means deciphering doctor's notes and sifting through 1,000-page medical records that miss key details and duplicate information. Rules engines go stale. And the smart AI. I wonder if we can probably kill the goodbye competitive edge.
Yeah.
Only because it doesn't, we haven't like made competition an issue in the previous
Right.
part of this.
Should we say key facts?
But as underwriters, getting a true understanding of their health goes beyond the application. It means deciphering doctor's notes and sifting through 1,000-page medical records that miss key details and duplicate information. You might need to say plus rules engines go stale and the smart AI sometimes invents key facts. Oops, sorry, you're already adding it. Rules engines go stale. And this one overlooked note is the $5 million claim the overlooked note, or it's separate from that?
Separate. So it's if you overlook a keynote, you get a $5 million claim.
Got it. Okay. Oh, you're saying it turns into that.
Yeah.
It's the result. Okay. One overlooked note could mean one $5 million claim. Or yeah, it turns into a $5 million claim. There you go. Suddenly your quarters in cardiac arrest. Make it our, because we've done the we language up to this point. And then when you get to the approach, you flip it to the your and the you.
So here.
Or just say suddenly the quarters in cardiac arrest.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, I'm just gonna time this for a minute. Let's see. Life insurance policies are determined by an applicant's health, but as underwriters, getting a true understanding of their health goes beyond the application. It means deciphering doctor's notes and sifting through 1,000-page medical records that miss key details and duplicate information. Plus, rules engines go stale, and the smart AI sometimes invents key facts. One overlooked note turns into a $5 million claim. Suddenly, the quarter's in cardiac arrest. Get to the heart of the data with Gosund. Gosund's multi-expert engine compiles every data point. Whether clean or messy, we identify gaps and duplicates and scrape the data against all types of health conditions to produce a transparent recommendation, clearly highlighting what drives the decision. You get everything you need to make the right decisions instantly and keep premiums pumping, issuing offers while the applicant's coffee is still warm. Carriers set a $15.9 billion premium record last year, yet billions more still evaporated. Families waited for approval while underwriters dug through mountains of PDF. We're gearing up our seed round to get underwriters straight to the heart of every case. Put underwriting in a healthy rhythm and see how Gosund Health did. Okay, so quick update at the end. That got to like 108. You could just say, put underwriting into a healthy rhythm at GosundHealthData.com. And then I think, yeah, this part into this still needs a little bit of cleanup.
Yeah.
You probably don't need this because your next sentence says you get everything you need to make the decision. Right. You could just produce a transparent recommendation, period. You get everything you need. And so if you're kind of still following your section headers, this is going to be closing statement. And then this is like, just, you're also have product explanation in one go.
Yeah.
You could probably cut this sentence at yet billions more still evaporated. Just end it right there.
Yeah.
And then I would just for timing purpose, just say we're raising capital. Okay. And then now let's time this. Let's see. All right, where's our starting point? Here, right?
Yep.
Life insurance policies are determined by an applicant's health, but as underwriters, getting a true understanding of their health goes beyond the application. It means deciphering doctor's notes and sifting through 1,000-page medical records that miss key details and duplicate information. Plus, rules engines go stale, and the smart AI sometimes invents key facts. One overlooked note turns into a $5 million claim. Suddenly, the quarter's in cardiac arrest. Get to the heart of the data with Gosund. Gosund's multi-expert engine compiles every data point. Whether clean or messy, we identify gaps and duplicates and scrape the data against all types of health conditions to produce a transparent recommendation. You get everything you need to make the right decision instantly and keep premiums pumping, issuing offers while the applicant's coffee is still warm. Carriers set a $15.9 billion premium record last year, yet billions more still evaporated. We're raising capital to get underwriters straight to the heart of every case. Put underwriting into a healthy rhythm at GosundHealthData.com. Exactly 1 minute.
Awesome.
The other couple small things I could see is like, you could probably say hour because you just said Gosund right here.
Sure.
And then the whole while the coffee is still warm, you probably don't need to say instantly because you are defining what instantly is here.
Oh, sure.
Now, I will also point out, because we kind of went back to the original or a modification of this part up, or not original, we didn't make this about speed up here necessarily.
Mhm.
You may not need to go with the coffee is still warm thing down here.
Okay.
That said, I mean, it's kind of implied that this stuff must take a lot of time as well.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that up to you if you want to keep that in or not, the coffee part of it.
Okay.
And do we need this? Because it's about the right? Or is it and pump the right premiums?
Right. Yeah. Because I mean that part does tie into the market size below it.
Okay, got it. All right. Okay, then maybe you keep it as is, because we did talk about the wrong note could be a $5 million claim.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thuresh, any last question before we close out today?
No, I think I'm good. I'm going to take some time, just make sure I review it one more time and modify it a little bit. But yeah, I think this was good.
Okay, great. So the final session is Wednesday, 12 p.m. Central Time. And then there's the optional deep work session in the hour before that. So if you feel you're at that like 95% completion, then like when we hit the final pitches session at noon Central Time, that's going to be like, you're going to read it. I'll give a final comment or two. So if you feel like you are more than a final comment or two away from completion, then I would highly recommend you do the deep work session on Wednesday beforehand. So just be in the hour before, and then we'll roll right into the main session.
Makes sense.
Yep, sounds good.
One quick thing. So I'll be in. You're based out of Chicago, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be in Chicago on Friday. I have a meeting with an investor. We just started our seed round at Startup Grind, so we already have
Cool.
interest from the Bay Area, and then this company out of Chicago, we're meeting them afternoon. I just wanted to check and see if you have any other suggestions in that ecosystem, if they who would be ideal. I mean, it's a seed round. We're looking for a lead, or again one lead and then potentially a couple of others. We already have some existing investors who are going to come on board. But we are looking for a lead. So I'm meeting with one company in Chicago. I don't know if you know Motivate.vc.
I do not know Motive. I might know them. Do you know who the person you're meeting with is?
Jackson.
Might have met him before, but I don't think I know him.
That's fine. So
let me look through my network. What time is your meeting on Friday?
I'm meeting him at 2:00 Central.
And do you fly in on Friday or do you fly in on Thursday?
Flying in on Thursday. So
okay, so you have Friday morning open.
Friday morning, basically.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if there's anyone that I know that would be interested in this.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. All right. Great work. We will get today's recording. If you want to look back at anything, we'll get it live by about noon tomorrow. And then I'll see you all on Wednesday.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
Bye.